Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Welcome to Word for Absolute Beginners, Part 2. Again, bear in mind that the content of this upload will be quite basic. However, it contains knowledge that we need to know to use Word correctly and efficiently. The first thing we're going to look at that you saw in the introductory screen was the ability to use the delete and the backspace key. The rules are quite simple. The delete key on your keyboard clears characters which are in front of the insertion point, while the backspace key clears characters behind the flashing insertion point. Let's see how it works. I wanted to type the word cat here, but I made a spelling mistake in typing mat. So what I'm going to do is click before the word so that the letter I want to get rid of is in front of the insertion point. Therefore I hit the delete key and type the letter that I wanted. Now let's look at the backspace key. The backspace key deletes characters behind the flashing insertion point. So if I wanted to have typed the word dog, I hit the backspace key after placing the insertion point in front of the word of the letter that I want to delete, and hit the backspace key and type a G. So there we are, nice and easy. Remember those two rules. A little bit of practice does not go astray. Let's see how it works in an actual document, and I'm going to say I want to get rid of the word both here, so I'm going to use the backspace key. So I'll click just after the word both, hit the backspace key, and every time I press backspace I get rid of the characters backwards, as it were. Now what I'm going to do is change, using the delete key, this word to these. So I'm going to click just before the Y and press the delete key, and then I'll type SE, and I've made my editing change in both cases using the delete or the backspace key. Now the next thing that we'll be looking at is how to insert a new page. A new page is inserted after the flashing insertion point. So to insert a new page, I'm going to click at the end of the document, or what was the control command? Control End would have taken me to the same place. So now I'm going to say insert a blank page, and there is a blank page inserted for me, so that I can, if I wish, start typing on that blank new page. And you'll notice that the insertion point has been placed on the blank new page for me. Now if I change my mind, that is, I want to undo my last action, what I'm going to do is to use an easy keyboard command, Control and the letter Z. Control Z deletes my last action of inserting the new page. Incidentally, I'm an Australian, so I say Z. If you live in other countries that may use the word Z, Control Z or Control Z is exactly the same thing. Now we're going to go to the top of the document to look at how I can change what is called the orientation. That is, will my document print as portrait or landscape? Again, Control Home takes me straight up to the top of the document. I didn't have to scroll up if I didn't particularly want to. Now when I look at how the document will print, I'm going to click either File, Print, or I could hold down the Control key and press the letter P. Control P also shows me the print preview, and I can see that this document at the moment would print in portrait. Portrait is where the depth is bigger than the width. Let's go back to our document, and in the page layout command, I see here in the page setup group that there is a button called orientation. When I click the drop arrow, I'll change this document to landscape, and I see that there is a change on the screen, And now when I press Control P to go to print preview, I see that my document would print in landscape. That is where the width is larger than the depth. So that's how I change the orientation. Now I'm going to change it back to portrait. I know I could use the backspace, use the Control Z command to undo, but I'll change it here for practice sake. Back to portrait. So there we go, we're back where we were before. Now I've made a couple of deliberate spelling errors in this, and those of you who will recall from the part 1 that Word underlines in red any word that it believes has been misspelt. Now what I'm going to do is to use the F7 key, and could I suggest to you that before you start your spell check, always start from the start of the document, so Control Home. Not absolutely necessary, but just a suggestion. I always feel happier if I start from the top of the document. Now last time in the previous upload we saw that I could right click on the word that was apparently misspelt. However, if I have a very long document, then what I'm going to do is use the F7 key, because F7 checks the entire document automatically for me, as we'll see. Now F7, and because I'm using Word 2013, I see the spelling Pane appear over on the right. Those of you who use earlier versions of Word will see a little window appear in the middle of the document, but the concept is exactly the same. It's a matter of reading what appears and making decisions. Now Word suggests that the correct spelling should be lengthy. That looks good to me, so I'm going to click the change command. If I made lots of lengthies instead of lengthies, then I could change all, and all of the misspelled lengthy words would be changed for me. But I'll just click change in this case, and there I see that Word has changed it. Now the next one, I've left out the I. So Word is suggesting sometimes. Now I'm going to change that, and spell check is complete. You're good to go. OK, now I'm going to click OK. Now what I've done, I've added a new sentence at the bottom, a monarch reigns. Let's see how Excel handles spell check this time. F7. The spell check's complete. You're good to go. However, there is a spelling mistake down here because a monarch actually reigns. Spell check didn't pick up that particular mistake because the word reigns has been spelt correctly. So you really need to remember a golden rule of Microsoft Word documents, that before you print them, send them via email or whatever, you must proofread your document, and maybe even have somebody else proofread it for you if possible, to pick up mistakes like that, because Word doesn't think, as we just saw, that the previous word was a misspelling, which it wasn't misspelt, but it was grammatically incorrect. Now what I've done, I've added another sentence at the bottom. A horse has 4 legs. And Word says that the word 4 is misspelt. Let's spell check. F7, and there it says that the word should have been for, F-O-U-R, with no E on the bottom. It suggests similar other words. Now you'll notice up here that there is a command called ignore. So if you think that the word for legs, F-O-U-R-E, is spelt correctly, you can ignore. So what does this indicate to me? I'm going to change it anyway. Change. Spell check complete. Good. There we are. Now it's correct. So Word assumes that you know how to spell. It's a major assumption, and it's another good reason to have documents pre-read, proofread before you print them or email them.